Hello, how are you all? I hope you're well. Ugh. Every time one of these stories come out, I just get really angry. But the good news is there is someone like Project Veritas who is actually doing investigative journalism and exposing these people for what they are. So remember when there used to be investigative journalism? Whatever happened to that? Now it's all show business. It's all a smoke show, and no one wants to think about how many good stories, especially with certain laptop situations or certain people with certain islands. Think about how much stuff could be exposed if we still had for real investigative journalists. But thankfully, at least we have Project Veritas. We have something. And I will say this before I get into this story. I remember right around after the election, after all this stuff was happening, I think a lot of people felt pretty hopeless. And one person that gave me a lot of hope was James O'Keefe with Project Veritas. He made a 10-minute long video on his Instagram, and he was saying this, and I do believe him. He was saying that he's working with a lot of whistleblowers, and he actually has a lot of faith in the future, and he's very optimistic about the future, and he thinks that whistleblowers are kind of going to save our country, and that a lot of people that are working in these institutions that are either implementing this sort of ideology or that are lying to the public or things like that, a lot of regular people in these institutions are going to start to have a crisis of conscience, and they're going to come forward. And that's kind of what we're seeing a lot with Project Veritas, and this is one of those individuals. So this guy works for Hasbro. Yes, Hasbro, the toy company. I've always loved Hasbro. Have had many of their toys in my possession growing up. Well, Hasbro is now basically injecting critical race theory, or they're thinking about injecting these sort of critical race theory ideas into their freaking toys. So if you want to go to Project Veritas, go to their Instagram page. You can see the full 10-minute interview with this guy, and he talks about why he came forward, basically. But so anyway, he came to Project Veritas, and he had a video of this training that was basically being introduced to the employees at Hasbro. And I'm going to just show you a little bit of a clip of that training, and then we'll talk more about what he said and sort of my ideas or thoughts or feelings on all of this. Here we go.
Training? Yes, it was mandatory for me.
Children as young as 2 are already using race to reason about people's behaviors.
2-year-old racists is just an absurd concept.
By 3 to 6 months, babies are beginning to notice and already express preference by race. By age 3, children are already starting to apply stereotypes. They also may use racist language intentionally at this age.
I think this is where the mask starts to slip a little bit.
Is this what people are talking about regarding critical race theory?
This is critical race theory in practice. They explain that the white children in particular have the particular bias against black people. It's a mainstream ideology now, and it's in a lot of our institutions. People that I've spoken to about these issues, and I'm trying to explain to them why teaching people to segregate based on race or by gender or by any other inherent characteristic is wrong.
You heard that correctly. You know, it's funny, a lot of liberals will make fun of conservatives for saying, oh, you think we're going after your kids, we're going after your kids. What do you call that? They're literally talking about babies and injecting ideas of race into babies. And basically, the guy that came, the whistleblower, he's an employee with Hasbro who caught wind of this training. And he said, this ideology goes against everything that Martin Luther King taught. And he was like, they're trying to fix racism by teaching kids to only see through a lens of race. And mind that... But besides the fact that these people are just completely perverse, in my opinion, what is going on with why can't, I think I said this before in a recent video, why can't people just stay in their lane? Who do you think you are to think that you need to fix kids that are just playing with toys, that you need to inject your ideology into a toy company? Who do you think you are? It's just like teachers, sports, entertainment, everything. Stay in your freaking lane. Who do you think you are? Not everyone thinks the same as you. Not everyone thinks that this is the answer. Teaching kids to only see through the lens of race, how do you think that story is going to end? Aren't we trying to get away from that? Don't we want to judge each other by the content of character? And again, it's like, it makes me so mad. Who do you think you are? If you're playing sports, play sports. If you're making a movie, make an entertaining movie. If you're making toys, just stick to making really cool toys for kids. Why do you think that your ideology is above everyone else? And it's so annoying. And it's narcissistic and it's self-serving. If you want to end racism, or if you want people to come together, you focus on what people have in common, not on what makes them different, not trying to separate them into racial groups. You focus on what they have in common. And by the way, they're doing the very thing that they say they're against in this training. They're basically assuming that all a certain race thinks the same, and that all kids in that race think the same and they're raised the same. That is not true. They are the very thing that they say that they are trying to fight. I remember in one of my counseling classes, that's what we were taught, because a lot of times, if you're a counselor or if you're a social worker, you're working with people that have dealt with things in life that you have never dealt with. And an example that one of my teachers gave me once is let's say you're working at a nursing home and you're working with an elderly client and they are really upset and they're having a really hard time, and they say, you don't know what it's like to be old. You don't know what it's like to have all your friends pass away because you're getting older and you're feeling alone. You don't know what any of that is like. And we were always taught to never ever try to say that we understand that person's point of view or what that person is coming from, because I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be old. I don't know what it's like to have all of my friends pass away as I get older. I don't know what it's like to feel old. But what I do know is I do know what it's like to have tragedy. I do know what it's like to lose people. I do know what it's like to feel scared. And I do know what it's like to feel alone. And that's how you kind of at least bridge that. You focus on what you do have in common and you empathize with people. You don't have to know that person's experience, but you can listen and you can say, I know what it's like to go through these things. And I'm not saying you do that with any certain group, but I'm just saying, like, focusing constantly on skin color and what makes us separate and separating us is not fixing anything. It's just further dividing us. And the younger and younger we start pushing this stuff on our kids, the more depressed our kids are going to be, the more angry they're going to be, the more confused they're going to be, and the more anxious they're going to be. This doesn't lead to anywhere good. And I just wanted to share that because I think it's important. And as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I really feel for parents right now because, man, you just have to be on your game and really be aware of everything that your child is bringing home, the toys they're playing with, the programming that they're watching. I think this guy also said that this same group, I think they're called the Conscious Kid. I think that's the group that was talking in the video. He said they're working with, I believe, the NFL and Nickelodeon. So I just feel for parents right now because you really, really, really have to pay attention to the world that your kids are living in, their shows, their teachers, their toys now. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about that, and I'll see you later. Bye.